I'm Pastor Henry Hildebrand. I'm glad to be back here with you. I wanted to share something with you that stirs me up. Of course, there's been a lot of things that we feel like have gone wrong in the last couple of years, but then all of a sudden something really sticks out. I mean, politicians, what do you expect, right? But then all of a sudden something happens that you say this is even beyond what a politician would do. I mean, this is just too blatant. This is just too obvious. This is just too far out. So you heard what our Prime Minister said about the trucking convoy that made their way to Ottawa, and they protested peacefully for 3 weeks. Never a single incident there, nothing, they never arrested anyone. But you heard what he said.
The small fringe minority of people who are on their way to Ottawa or who are holding unacceptable views that they're expressing.
You think, well, I guess that's just how he feels about protest, period. Well, lo and behold, let me read something to you. So you heard recently there was quite a rising up in China. People were standing up for their freedom and whatnot and felt like it was just the government was overstepping, just like the people in Canada felt like what was happening here. This is what our Prime Minister had to say about the uprising in China recently. Trudeau said, "It's crucial that protesters be allowed to speak up." Really? And then, I quote, he goes on, he says, "Canadians are watching very closely. Obviously," he says, "everyone in China should be allowed to express themselves and should be allowed to share their perspectives and indeed protest," he said. I'll keep going. I quote, "We're going to continue to ensure that China knows we'll stand up for human rights. We'll stand with people who are expressing themselves." You hypocrite? You hypocrite? What are you talking about? This is precisely what was happening in the trucking convoy. This is precisely what happened in Ottawa in February. This is exactly what they were doing. Protesting, speaking up, standing up for their freedom, expressing themselves. And you condone it, and you support it, and you say it is right for the people of China to do that, and you're saying Canada is watching closely, and yet when it was at your doorstep, right in front, you could even hear them in your office, when they were there, you condemn them, your own people, and call them names, and then when it's on the other side of the world, you make these remarks. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. This is exactly what Jesus would be talking about in Matthew 23 when he said, "You hypocrite. You say one thing and do exactly the opposite." Now, we have seen them do many, many things, but this is just a bit much. This is just over the line. I mean, we just experienced less than a year ago in our own country, our own people. No, it wasn't the Russians doing it. It wasn't any other country inspiring them to do it. It was the Canadian people standing up for their Canadian rights that have been promised, that are written down in the Bill of Rights. And you annulled that and stood against that and condemned them and never showed up one time to speak to your own people. And then when it's in China, you say this. But that's not all. Then what really got me going was I saw CNN. Let's see what CNN has to say. So we saw the uprising in Holland and in Germany, and this is what CNN says. "Europe's loud, rule-breaking, unvaccinated minority are falling out of society." Okay. And then the uprising happens in China. Let's turn the page. And what do we see? CNN says of the uprising in China, "At the heart of China's protests against zero COVID, young people cry for freedom." That's laughable. This is unbelievable. I mean, look at what is happening. Look at, like I said, this is how a prime minister speaks. That not even a politician. I mean, this is something that everybody catches on the spot. This is just beyond. And CNN claims that they are, what did they say of the people in Germany? They said, rule-breaking, unvaccinated minority. Sounds like Trudeau. Anyway, and then turning the page, and these people are crying for freedom. That's what the whole world is doing, folks. Mr. Prime Minister, CNN, that's what the whole world is doing. They're crying for their God-given freedom. Wake up, people. Wake up, people. This is why our countries are on a slippery slide, just going down. This is why, because they have a shaky foundation. They are building on sinking sand. This is mainstream media, CNN. This is what their foundation is like. And I told you what our Prime Minister said. People, it is time for us to wake up and call on our leaders and tell them and let them know enough is enough. This is just too much. I wish you a wonderful day. God be with you.